GoFundMe Spotlight, Denver Metro Audits. Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova started his GoFundMe campaign around 6 months ago to raise $20,000 to fight charges of obstruction out of Sheridan, Colorado, which he claims he was innocent of. He had a long history in Sheridan, along with ex-girlfriend Teresa Sweet Tea Neal and current auditing partner Regan Benson. The group used to target the Sheridan City Council meeting with negative coverage over recording in the building. His problems culminated in a mass gathering of auditors in the building last year, which resulted in over 10 arrests. He and Sweet Tea were later arrested again last year in the same building after being banned from the building and having outstanding warrants. Cordova and his band of auditors split last year when he started to demand to be the leader of the group. He alone went to trial on the Sheridan charges, with the others taking plea deals from the mass gathering, and he publicly denounced the group for their decisions. The YouTuber is most famous for an incident at a mass gathering of auditors at a Social Security Administration building in Colorado in 2022. Delete Law's Jose Chile Decastro was in attendance at the meeting, and Cordova would attack Decastro verbally behind his back in support of Josh Accountability for All Abrams anytime Decastro was out of earshot. Decastro ultimately had the last laugh as he inadvertently tricked Cordova into getting arrested by breaching a secure area after several warnings by police that no filming was allowed inside that area. Decastro had tentatively agreed to breach the building with Cordova, but Cordova went alone and was arrested as Decastro promised to fundraise for his release. Cordova was found guilty of the crimes in 2023 and sentenced to 15 days in federal prison, but the case has been held up in an appeal for most of 2024. The last hearing was in June, with no decision made as of press time. More recently, Cordova was tricked by Christopher Direct D. Ruff into taking charges of flashing a high-powered flashlight at a Sheridan, Colorado police vehicle on the highway when, in fact, Ruff committed the crime. Those charges were later dropped. Cordova's made $730 out of his $20,000 goal for his GoFundMe campaign, and it isn't clear what he currently needs the money for, as most of his charges have either been dropped or are lingering. The YouTuber, since dumping Sweet Tea, has embarked on a transformation of sorts, wearing braces to correct his crooked teeth, upgrading his wardrobe, fixing his haircut, and other appearance changes to make himself more attractive to the opposite sex. He has transformed himself into a love guru and now makes appearances on dating-related podcasts and YouTube panels where he expounds on his alleged extensive knowledge of women. Cordova also speaks out regularly at the Inglewood City Council meeting on his belief that pornography should be available to be publicly displayed within the confines of the library. He claims any limit on the display of pornography would be a violation of the First Amendment, and he will openly fight against any rules prohibiting its display. The last donation to Cordova's fund came 27 days ago, and Cordova posted an update on September 14, 2024, indicating that he was down to 3 cases with his Social Security Administration case, the Sheridan mass arrest appeal, and a trespassing charge still in front of him. We will continue to monitor his GoFundMe and continued auditing and dating-related activities as news breaks. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations, along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the ads on our video, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Delete Laws wants you to brigade YouTube. An outraged Delete Laws Jose Chile Decastro held a nearly 4-hour live stream on YouTube Saturday night, calling on all of his fans to brigade YouTube's Twitter accounts, as he claimed commenting on his YouTube shorts was not working for all of his followers, despite the counts on the comments increasing on his shorts every time he highlighted them. Decastro's paranoia about commenting was highlighted in a short video he played on his live stream that apparently showed someone having difficulty leaving a comment on his shorts. He told his fans that they needed to immediately brigade YouTube creators and Team YouTube on Twitter to demand that they fix the problem. The YouTuber was obsessed with his perceived problem throughout the stream, getting more and more agitated after YouTube's accounts on Twitter failed to adequately help him resolve the issue. He was also upset that his fans didn't embark on his demand of brigading all the accounts, as only his report and direct interaction with YouTube's representatives could work to his benefit. As a fan reminded us, this is a particularly bad time of year for Decastro, as it's the 1-year anniversary of his firing of former partner Colin Campbell, who he ultimately let go after a blow-up after another misunderstanding on Decastro's part. It was a year ago that the Welsh News Network account randomly received a gifted membership on Decastro's main Delete Laws channel. Decastro, not understanding the random nature of gifted memberships, accused Campbell of working in collusion with his most hated critics and directly giving the account a membership to his channel, widening the ongoing explosion between the two former friends and business partners. Also of note is the fact that Campbell's Project Constitution account on Twitter has recently quintupled the numbers of Twitter followers when compared to Decastro's main Twitter account. Campbell currently has 10,800 followers to Decastro's 2,103 Twitter followers on his main Delete Laws account. The problems continued to pile up for Decastro as he again made a direct promise on Saturday's live stream that his new Team DLZ website would be up by the end of the day, with the site remaining unlaunched on Saturday by noon Eastern Time. Decastro's live stream was otherwise uneventful, with Decastro demanding his followers to take time to petition Arizona Judge Nick Saccone, with Decastro naming him Dickbag for some reason. The judge recently found probable cause for officers to arrest a deaf man whose arrest was the subject of a recent viral video after he was tased repeatedly by police. The YouTuber also demanded that his followers find him complete police body cam videos on YouTube that he can take to repurpose on videos for both his YouTube channel and to be featured unredacted on his Twitter and Patreon accounts. He made it clear to target smaller creators who would not be prone to copyright strike him for using their material. Copyright and fair use also seemed to be on Decastro's mind throughout the video, as he stopped during featured videos during the live stream to announce that he was providing reactions to the videos he was viewing. Decastro apparently recently received a copyright strike on his channel, resulting in his perceived need to announce that he was using all new videos under fair use guidelines. Decastro made $145 in Super Chat revenue during his nearly 4-hour stream and is already scheduled to live stream again this afternoon. Wallace breaks down, talks about illness. Floyd Wallace briefly broke down as he was confronted with his own words by Snow Travels, a YouTube user who paid to be on Wallace's panel Saturday night, in a strange moment for the YouTuber who normally denies that anything is wrong with his world or his actions. Wallace allowed Snow Travels up on his panel for a $20 donation that would be applied to his fees for a Texas conviction that Wallace says is preventing him from leaving the country. Snow Travels is a notorious critic of Wallace, who spends most of Wallace's live streams badgering and reminding Wallace of his faults. His inclusion on the panel was either a brilliant move by Wallace, who raised $60 towards paying off his Texas fine during the nearly 4-hour-long live stream, and another $30 in super chats, or a terrible mistake on Wallace's part as Snow Travels came prepared with sound bites of Wallace's previous comments to use against him. Upon arrival on the panel, Snow Travels asked Wallace why he was pretending to love Colombia so much, as he had previously commented on over a half a dozen live streams that he hated the country. Wallace broke down and said that absence may have made him grow fond of the country, but later admitted that Colombia was the easiest place where he could get laid before going to jail. Unlike his earlier live stream, where he stated that he was doing everything in his power to avoid jail time, this time he seemed resolved to the perceived fact that he would be receiving 2 months in jail for interfering with an officer in an Oklahoma arrest in 2023. Wallace is currently scheduled to receive sentencing on a blind plea by an Oklahoma judge next month. The YouTuber admitted that the only real reason why he was trying to delay the trial was to have as much sex as possible with women in Colombia before going to jail, as his attempts to find sex in the United States had failed. He revealed that a recent attempt at pay-for-play with an acquaintance failed, as he apparently paid the woman and she had not shown up to follow through with the sexual contact. As Wallace filled his panel with more paying members of his community, Snow Travels posed to Wallace a question as to why he always forced his Passport Bro fans to pay for fines from actions committed when he was acting as a First Amendment auditor. Wallace candidly stated that both of his First Amendment auditing channels were followed by white people who hated him and would never pitch in. He went on to say that while his Passport Bros hated him too, they always came through when he needed them to pay for all of his expenses. Opening up further, Wallace revealed that he was suffering from arthritis, ADHD, and schizophrenia, which gave him uncontrollable bouts of anger. While he wouldn't confirm a medical diagnosis, he did say that his conditions played a part in his arrests, as his anger was a contributing factor in his problems. Ending his candidness with his current plans, he said he still planned to fire his lawyer to cause a delay in his upcoming court action in Oklahoma. He would then go to Colombia for as long as he could afford to, delaying the trip to November if needed, then come back to the United States in order to go to jail for up to 2 or 3 months. During his time in jail, he would have all his videos prepared to be released on all of his channels using YouTube scheduling. He would then get a job working construction for 2 to 3 months before leaving the States for an extended sex tour of Brazil. He did not report on what he'd do about his warrant in New Mexico, but did not seem concerned about it as the conversation drifted away from serious topics. Wallace still has $71 to go to his Texas fines with the supposed Tuesday deadline. He had claimed he would put $60 of his own money towards the fine if Chet came through with the other half of the money. It is unclear where that promise stands as of press time. Delete Laws forced to raise prices. Sunday was a rough night for Delete Law's Jose Chile Decastro, as he was forced to announce the doubling in price of his indestructible trifolds from a $12 price point to a $25 price point before a $12 shipping and handling charge. Decastro said that his business manager would physically hurt him if he lowered the prices again, as he had been selling them at a point where the profit made from the units would not allow Decastro to be able to afford ordering a new printing of the trifolds. For some reason, Decastro also raised the price of the print-at-home trifolds to $13 from a $6 price point, despite no inventory limitations on the digital product. Other increases saw physical copies of cop cards, which Decastro usually gives away with every order, jump to $15. The YouTuber seemed distressed by the price increases on his 4-hour-long Sunday extravaganza, raising $232 in super chats, in part to help fund free trifolds for those who needed them. He also ran his Buy a Trifold and Someone Else Gets One Free campaign, then offered to send the free trifolds using his old shipping rates and without the broccoli wad rubber band. Critics pounced on Decastro's decision to raise prices, as he had been previously so willing to give out free digital copies of his entire product line to those in need, giving out zip files of the product line in exchange for data from his fans that he would later sell to data brokers, according to former partner Colin Campbell. Decastro's flooding of his own market with digital products, then lowering his prices to the point where he could not sustain his own line of products, calls into question his claims of extensive experience managing businesses, with further questions by critics as he followed up the price increases by running an immediate buy one, someone else gets one free sales that essentially put the price of the product back to the $12 price point. One viewer suggested a return to the GoFundMe market by Decastro, essentially to establish a slush fund of $40 donations for his fans to fund the needs of those who could not afford physical products. The proposed idea would revive Decastro's presence in the GoFundMe market, which has seen significant decline since his suspension of his campaigns last month. It's not without precedent, as Karen Reed's attorneys currently crowdsource for their fees involved in defending the accused murderer. On that point, our own ongoing expenses account took Sunday with a $30 take for the day, with no other donations to the other campaigns on the market. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations, along with what little we make from YouTube each month. While we did achieve full monetization on our YouTube channel, we still need help to get through the monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can't afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the ads on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Not even Freeman can save Lexington Takeover. There was no word from the organizers of the so-called Lexington Takeover scheduled earlier on Monday, as the Guerrilla Publishing YouTube site provided no updates past the Sunday night livestream, indicating that Ron and his group from Guerrilla Publishing were 5 hours away from Lexington. The Sunday livestream was filled with tidbits, including the fact that Ron claimed he was contacted by the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation last week, as the organization was concerned that the plan to organize protest outside of the Holmes County Courthouse in Lexington would disrupt an ongoing murder trial being held there at the courthouse. Ron assured the representative of the MBI that the protest had no plans to disrupt anything, after a failed joke about blocking the intersection of Highway 12 and Highway 17 with a picnic did not go over well with the officer. He also claimed that he had mass spammed every news outlet in the area with the planned takeover and the presence of superstar James Freeman, who would be meeting them at 9 a.m. Central Time the following morning at the courthouse. Ron also released links to the social media accounts of Edward Scott Walters, the Lexington police officer who arrested Ron earlier in the month, along with the contact information for the Lexington Police Department, with the demand that his fans brigade the police department to demand Walters be fired. A lawsuit was threatened, with Ron listing all sorts of charges, including kidnapping, to be included with the lawsuit. Ron assured everyone that he wasn't after money, he was only after the right thing, which was essentially the firing of Walters. He also asked his fans for information about places the assembled auditors could visit during the 3 days of the planned takeover, from places to eat and places to see in the area. As Sunday became Monday, there was no word from Ron's group or anyone involved in the takeover. 3 hours after the scheduled start of the planned takeover, Guerrilla Publishing nor James Freeman had gone live, and there had been no updates on their community pages. Well into late afternoon on Monday, the group, now joined by Freeman, did a brief live from a gas station in Lexington. They briefly entered the gas station to confront a police officer who was ordering his dinner, before being asked to stop recording by the owner of the gas station, who didn't want a confrontation in the establishment. Ron would then announce that he received a $1,000 donation from a fan, and another fan showed up to take the group to lunch earlier in the day. He also said that there would be a meeting in the City Hall on Tuesday to discuss the Justice Department investigation of the Lexington Police Department and the employment of Edward Scott Walters. James Freeman was still alive, running around Lexington with the group as of press time Monday night. Floyd Wallace scrubs YouTube account of controversial live streams. Controversial YouTuber Floyd Wallace scrubbed his YouTube account of his most recent live streams on Monday, apparently erasing any evidence of his real or mused future plans to avoid his upcoming court hearings by firing his attorney to cause a delay to allow him to flee the country for an extended sex tour of Colombia. Wallace's YouTube had been a lightning rod of controversy in recent days, as the YouTuber has thrown all sorts of plans out, including a strange fascination for saving up his semen for the month with the intention of an acquaintance in Colombia with or without her consent when he arrived in the country later this month. He was also extensively candid with his mental health issues in recent streams, claiming that he had been fighting for the restoration of his previously revoked monthly disability check from the United States government for mental health issues including ADHD and schizophrenia. The YouTuber claimed that he lost his $1,000 a month stipend from the United States government as he made too much money off of the popularity of his YouTube channels back when he was actively auditing and from when he was promoting the Passport Bro lifestyle in his previous extended stay in Brazil. While he says that he has been fighting for the stipend to be restored, his efforts have not been successful, even as his earnings from YouTube have significantly decreased. Wallace has also come under fire from critics who claim that he has abdicated for embarking in sexual contact with women who were the local age of consent, not the United States age of consent. The YouTuber was so offended by the accusations that he produced a live stream on the subject, only creating more questions from his audience as he refused to identify the person who was making the accusations. Strangely, the two videos of note that Wallace has left on his channel are both equally controversial. For the first video, Wallace had been paid to go to the College Station campus to attempt to pick up women, and his encounter with two women in Nebraska that he later admitted were pay-for-play highlighted the second video. Both videos are troubling, as Wallace approached women on the College Station video as a science experiment where he approached several women who appeared underage in order to get their Instagram accounts. In the second video, he allegedly picked up prostitutes and fed them Arby's before his intimate adventure began. Some have speculated that Wallace has been more and more paranoid with his words being used against him, including the possibility of his recordings being sent to his probation officer in Texas or the judge handling his Oklahoma case. Correcting our previous reporting, Wallace's next court date is November 12th, not the previously reported November 14th, for an obstructing of an officer charge in Oklahoma. This is the case where Wallace has repeatedly stated on recent live streams his plans to fire his current attorney in the case to cause yet another delay to the pending plea and sentencing in order to flee the country for his next sex tour of Colombia. Wallace also still owes $57 towards his fines for resist arrest, search, or transport that put him on parole after September guilty plea in Grayson, Texas. The YouTuber most recently claimed that he had until Tuesday to pay off the remainder of his $787 fine for the misdemeanor, or else he would have to cancel his sex tour of Colombia, later admitting he had no intention of canceling his plans. We will bring you updates when Wallace goes live again. LIA dramas revive GoFundMe market. Monday's GoFundMe market was abuzz with unusual activity based on separate ongoing dramas involving Christopher D. Ruff finding out that he was on probation without being notified he was on probation, and multiple incidents involving Sean Paul Long Island Audit Riaz. Ruff won the day with a $100 donation from a supporter after multiple streams based on his discovery that he was placed on probation in the state of Arizona in 2023 without agreeing to the probation. Ruff wrote on Twitter, "The Superior Court in Arizona broke the law and put me on probation illegally to get a win in 2023 to avoid a lawsuit. The problem is I never agreed to probation nor signed paperwork agreeing to it. For those that don't know, probation is contractual and requires you to sign and agree. Recently it was brought to my attention that I now have a warrant for this imaginary probation I am not on. Shocker. It would appear that the state inadvertently set themselves up for a lawsuit by illegally putting me on probation and issuing warrants for my arrest. Good job, dumb Stay tuned as this evolves. Ruff's announcement of the same information on his YouTube channel, along with his critique of a YouTube video questioning the legitimacy of his news, brought him enough attention to turn a $100 profit from his GoFundMe campaign. Turning to Riaz, Mark Stout announced on Sunday night that he was awarded summary judgment over Riaz in their ongoing dispute over a 2022 incident that resulted in Stout suing Riaz for unlawful entry and trespassing on his property. Riaz, claiming to be a process server, attempted to serve Stout with a lawsuit in that incident. Stout was awarded $5,000 as part of the decision by the court against Riaz. Riaz ignored Stout's announcement to go live, demanding that the judge in his bench trial set for this morning recuse herself in this case, where he was arrested for filming within the Schenectady, New York City Hall. Interestingly, Riaz originally stated that he was in the Schenectady City Hall to interview the mayor of the city, Gary McCarthy, but he has since changed his statement to indicate that he was there to record police officers in compliance with New York's various right-to-record laws that allow recording of police officers. A standing executive order by the mayor prohibited filming in the building. Riaz went into the city hall after pre-announcing his arrest and directing his fans to a GoFundMe to fund his legal defense before the arrest. Riaz announced that he would be motioning for the recusal of Judge Tanika Frost for refusing to hear Riaz's previous motion to examine the executive order. While Riaz indicated that he was not personally attacking the judge, he has said she could not be fair as Mayor McCarthy appointed Judge Frost to her position in 2018. The YouTuber stressed that Frost could be sentencing him to jail and taking him away from his two small children at Tuesday's hearing, apparently appealing to the heartstrings of his followers. Riaz claimed that he is facing either a fine of $250 and 15 days in jail, or just the fine and time served. The drama brought an unexpected donation to Riaz's unlawful arrest and constitutional rights campaign, consisting of $5, which was enough to take second for the day in the GoFundMe race. We still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from YouTube each month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the ads on our videos. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Delete Law's Monday stream turns into Circus. Monday was yet another typical day from the life of Delete Law's Chile Decastro as he continued to prepare his studio, this time complaining about the horrors of painting. Team DLZ remained on launch. He was briefly humiliated by demanding a callback from the wrong city of Troy, and of course he undid any advice from his financial advisor by giving away trifolds anytime anyone bought one for the new price of $25. It wasn't all bad for the YouTuber, as he managed to bring in $152 in super chats during the show, down significantly from Sunday's live stream, but still a good showing for Decastro's recent non-fundraising streams. Decastro immediately announced that the super chat money would be going towards paying for the free trifolds he gave away during the stream. How any of this made any financial sense is beyond us, but in the zany world of Delete Laws, sense goes out the window for the sheer personality of the host. Sadly, even at 2x speed, it was still seen as a chore to get through the broadcast, even for his most faithful listener. Decastro used part of his time to promote his interview with YouTuber Flex Your Freedoms, who Decastro called the Funny Guy, which is now available as a special members-only perk on his main YouTube channel. He then shared his own own hilarious screw-up as he went to the post office on Monday, only to find it closed for the Columbus Day holiday. Then he followed it up with another hilarious screw-up as he spent 30 minutes waiting for a call back from the wrong city of Troy, as he was seeking Troy, Missouri, but instead called Troy, Ohio, about a video that he was soon forgotten in his outrage. The night was also originally announced as a call-in show on Decastro's previous live stream. He said he'd have a special phone number set up and would listen to real callers for the night. Instead, Decastro made no mention of the idea of a call-in show and did his normal mix of fake outrage and anti-police videos, along with trifold sales to carry the night. Also not mentioned was the disaster that has become TeamDLZ.com. Decastro's constant promise of launching tomorrow has become a comedic mantra of recent airings of his channel. The reference now becoming part of the unofficial drinking games that include references of teaching of his constitutional law scholar program tomorrow and the ever tomorrow launch of his transparency application. More not mentioned despite promises included his continuing hurricane relief efforts, his promise to help the woman from last week who was fighting to regain her sister's children, his newly launched Patreon, which is now up to 5 paying members at $10 a month per member, his soon-to-be launching new YouTube channel, and about a dozen other forgotten promises and products that have vanished into the ether. All in all, your average and totally forgettable night for the YouTuber, who promises more free trifolds on his next live stream as he returns to full infomercial mode for the fall. Lexington Takeover demands firing of officer. YouTuber Ron from Guerrilla Publishing and his 2 friends were joined by James Freeman Springer and a friend as they recorded outside the Lexington, Mississippi police station Monday night, demanding the immediate firing of Lexington police officer Edward Scott Walters. The 2 sets of men ran around the outside of the Lexington Police Department Monday night, going from car to car, demanding to know where Officer Walters was. Ron claimed that they were hiding the officer within the building, and the group was demanding that they force the officer to come out and answer their questions. Freeman told one of the officers that Walters beat up Ron, exaggerating what happened in the arrest, while Ron himself said that the siege would only end when Walters was fired. He said he would have no beef with the officers in the area after he achieved the ending of Walters' career. Both groups continued to run around in the dark confronting officers as they came and went from the Lexington Police Department for around a half an hour. The large turnout promised by Ron never happening, with just the group of 5 on hand to carry out the harassment of officers. Freeman himself made some news earlier in the day when he used his "I'm doing an investigation" bit to get an officer's name and birth date at a nearby town. Freeman also saw an AR-15 sitting in an unlocked squad car in the footage and made a complaint, which the officer was responding to. The weapon turned out to be loaded with a bullet in the chamber, which was apparently against police policy. The officer declined to name the officer the vehicle belonged to, and Freeman has since pulled the footage in order to repurpose it for YouTube algorithm reasons. Promising to continue their sometimes petty and annoying actions throughout the public areas of government buildings in the area for a second day in a row, the group was looking forward to a planned hearing about both Officer Walters and the Justice Department investigation into the Lexington Police Department to be held later today. Ron has promised that Walters will be fired at the meeting. He has not cited his sources, but is telling anyone who will listen that information, as most people have no idea who he is talking about in the area. The Lexington takeover was planned by Ron last week after he was arrested for filming in the Lexington court building by Officer Walters 2 weeks ago. Ron has claimed all sorts of things about the arrest, including a violent attack by Walters, which grows with each telling of the story. Initially expecting a mass turnout of auditors, the group consists of the 5 main protesters and an occasional supporter who won't go on camera, but who will buy the men some food. Activities are expected to continue throughout the day, building up to the 5 p.m. Central Time meeting at the Lexington Town Hall. In a late-breaking update to this story, Ron of Guerrilla Publishing was arrested Tuesday afternoon and is currently at the hospital being checked out after the arrest. We will have an update on this on ReallyCoolSite.org later tonight and on the newscast tomorrow. DMA loses appeal, will refuse federal probation. Christopher Denver Metro Audits Cordova lost his federal appeal on Tuesday of his conviction of charges of ignoring official signage and recording in a restricted area at a Denver area Social Security Administration building in 2022. As previously reported, Cordova was arrested in 2022 during a mass gathering of auditors and in the presence of Delete Law's Jose Chile Decastro, who played a part in encouraging him to cross the threshold into the restricted area to earn his arrest. Cordova's trial was held in 2023 with a guilty verdict early in the year, stretched into a lengthy sentencing delay orchestrated by Cordova's attorney. During that period, Cordova was arrested 2 more times, which he says impacted his sentencing. He was ultimately sentenced to 2 years probation, $3,000 fine, and 15 days in federal prison. Cordova immediately appealed the sentencing, which has taken a year to be ruled on by a federal appeals court. In the end, Judge Nina Wang affirmed Cordova's convictions and sent the case back to Chief United States Magistrate Judge Michael E. Hagerty for execution of the sentence next week. Cordova was waiting for the release from jail of fellow auditor Mars Life when he received the news. Mars Life, who lives in his car, was arrested for trespassing and littering Monday night in Boulder, Colorado, after several warnings to move his car off of private property. The YouTuber reacted to the ruling by stating that he would refuse federal probation and instead insist that he serve the maximum 30-day jail sentence for his charges. He also said that he would not get a job as a condition of the probation, as his self-employment as an auditor would suffice as a full-time job. According to Frauditor Trolls reporting, Cordova must appear before the original judge in the case for further instructions on October 22, 2024. Cordova made a direct appeal to his fans Tuesday night to contribute to his GoFundMe to reimburse him the $500 he spent on bonding out Mars Life. His pleas went unanswered as he failed to pull in any donations to his GoFundMe account overnight. Our own GoFundMe campaign won Tuesday with a $20 donation. We still need your help. ReallyCoolSite.org and the Auditing Insanity newscast are funded by your donations, along with what little we make from YouTube each month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need your help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All proceeds literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the ads on our videos. Like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in. Audit Them to Sue Everyone, announces lawsuit. YouTuber Audit Them went live on his YouTube channel on Tuesday, claiming that he'll be filing a mass lawsuit, naming up to 45 to 60 people who have been involved in an apparent conspiracy to harass him over the past 4 years. The YouTuber said that he planned to legally dox and legally slander anyone involved in the conspiracy, including those who allegedly sent emails to government agencies about interactions he had with the agencies. Indicating that he's put a dossier together over the past 4 years, he claimed to have FOIA records of everyone who has ever communicated anything about him with the agencies and centered on 10 to 15 people he claimed who had reached out directly to government agencies to complain that he was representing himself as a public official. Elaborating further on his plans, he said he would be naming 5 to 6 main anti-auditing channels and up to 75 subscribers to the channels in the lawsuit. He also claimed some of the accusers were trolls who are paid by the government to troll as part of the community service process. Becoming enraged at those he perceived as trolls, he promised he would contact the workplaces of everyone involved in the supposed conspiracy against him and expose them as child molesters and serial killers. When someone criticized his idea for the mass lawsuit and questioned his status as an American, AuditMe threatened to look up the person's information and add them to his lawsuit. It's unclear what motivated the YouTuber's latest tirade or his change from relatively harmless master of the FOIA requests to a hardened champion of anti-trolling, armed with his notarized enemies list and plans for mass lawsuits. AuditMe has been best known for his ongoing feuds with Frauditor Troll and Dr. Dave over the years, going so far as to threaten lawsuits against both men in the past that went nowhere. His most recent target has been Flat Derp, who has produced various videos focusing on AuditMe's alleged strange antics during his audits. Casual observers were surprised by AuditMe's change in tone, as more recently he's developed a series of videos where he's been taken seriously by the government offices he has been auditing. Though questions remain when he is asked if he is from a government agency, and he responds with a scripted line that, "Today I am representing myself. Today." There also tends to be some confusion when he states that he is sending his self-made reports to the Illinois Attorney General. His tone tends to indicate that he is indeed working for the Attorney General, along with his claims that he soon may be in office. Otherwise, his more recent audits have been fairly benign, and our coverage has reflected his recent adaptation of his style. We will continue to monitor his lawsuit threat as more information becomes available. Floyd Wallace in trouble. The girls learn the truth. The mystery of the reasoning behind the wiping of YouTuber Floyd Wallace's YouTube page was revealed by Wallace on Tuesday, as he said that 3 of the women he had been romantically involved with in Colombia had apparently found his YouTube channel. In the now private video, Wallace revealed that he was no longer friends with the woman known as the Stud, who he had said had previously agreed to be his driver for his next sex tour of the country, after she had discovered his YouTube page and apparently his extensive negative comments about her. Wallace had previously savaged her appearance, saying that he would only feature pretty women on his channel in Colombia after his fans criticized her masculine appearance. On more recent videos, again now deleted, Wallace had defended the Stud as a nice person, and having enjoyed romantic encounters with her, along with her willingness to cook, clean, and drive him around the country. The two had a major fight at the end of his last trip to Colombia after he had invited her to a tourist destination after another woman had canceled on him, and he was not comfortable with her spending time with her family in the area instead of with him. The two had a major fight on his last day in the country over her being late to their planned date at a tourist attraction, and she was not mentioned again until he solidified his current planned trip back to the country. Wallace also indicated that the 2 other women, including the woman he had said on multiple occasions he had intended to impregnate on his trip with or without her consent, had also ended their relationships with the YouTuber. While the Stud apparently has learned his real name, it is unclear if the other women have learned that he uses the alias Terry Wilson while traveling, and if they now know his real identity. In more Wallace news, Wallace said that now that his main fine from a Texas case was paid, he would be able to travel overseas immediately. However, his probation officer revealed that there was a second set of fines for probation that needed to be paid that he claimed he did not know about. Wallace immediately began a fundraising campaign for the $360 he said he needed to pay his probation fees, but warned that he was unable to pay the fees all at once, so he would be paying in increments spaced out over the rest of his probation. Addressing his upcoming blind plea deal in Oklahoma on November 12, 2024, he again stated that he was planning to fire his current lawyer, then demanding a jury trial to get a continuance in the case. With the demand, he figured he'd have at least 2 months of unfettered travel time on his next sex tour of Colombia, despite his setbacks with the women he intended to romance. Wallace immediately privatized the live stream after criticism of his latest fundraising campaign by his audience. Freeman abandons Lexington takeover. After a chaotic day on Tuesday, the so-called Lexington takeover of Lexington, Mississippi was dealt two major blows as organizer Ron Durban of the Guerrilla Publishing YouTube channel was hospitalized while being detained by police, and superstar auditor James Freeman apparently left the cause to drive another auditor back to Oklahoma. The day started with a group going from town to town in the Lexington area, recording in as many public buildings as possible, and essentially making a circuit of going to each town's police department and city hall, ending with a visit to the city's mayor's office. One such visit happened in Jackson, Mississippi earlier in the day. The group tried to enter the police station, but were stopped at security due to a rule that requires ID to be shown before entering the building. Ron Durban immediately escalated the situation with the police officers manning the security station, reading a sign saying that someone without ID can be escorted through the building by an officer upon request. He was about to argue that point when he and another auditor inexplicably left the building and decided to go across the street to City Hall. Upon entering City Hall, Durban and friend asked the person at the front desk where the mayor's office was and eventually left a message with the mayor's assistant to complain about the policy requiring ID to enter the police station. Durban then walked into the city council chambers where he encountered a local news crew waiting for the city council meeting that was scheduled to start. A local reporter made small talk with Durban until Durban went into his rants, and the local reporter said he wasn't going to play Durban's game. Quickly enraged, Durban began to berate the man and follow the man through the building, hurling insults at him and saying that he had every right to film him wherever he went. When the man went down a flight of stairs, Ron balked, sending another auditor to follow the man while he left the building and ended the live stream soon after. Later in the day, now in Pearl, Mississippi, Ron allegedly had a similar encounter with the mayor's assistant in the mayor's office. The assistant asked not to be filmed. Ron escalated, and the assistant called the police. Ron was being detained by the chief of police for suspicion of disturbing the peace when he began to suffer chest pains. An ambulance arrived on the scene shortly after, and Ron was taken to the hospital across county lines. James Freeman stayed with the police chief, who said that if a judge signed off on a warrant for Ron's arrest, he'd arrest Ron once Ron was done at the hospital. Ron was admitted to the hospital, and there was apparently a police presence at the hospital in case Ron was released. Freeman and an auditor named Sean, who had been closely associated with Ron, left for Lexington, which was 90 minutes away from the hospital. They were going to the city council meeting where the fate of Officer Edward Scott Walters' employment was to be decided. The pair were a few minutes away from the meeting when Ron called to summon Sean, who was driving Ron's truck, back to the hospital. Ron wanted to work on details of finding a bail bondsman as a warrant had been issued for his arrest, and bail was set at $20,000. Sean refused to make the return trip as it would strand Freeman at the meeting. When the council went into executive session, Freeman, Sean, and everyone else in the audience were sent out to wait until the council reopened to the public. During that time, Sean found a bail bondsman who was on site and arranged to hire her to pay the bond, recording her information to send to Ron. Freeman and Sean left the meeting when Freeman's phone began to die, and the pair returned to the hospital. The city council did not announce the fate of Walters at the meeting. When the pair visited Ron in his room, Sean and Ron got into a loud argument over hiring the bail bondsman from Lexington when Ron wanted someone who was local without the 90-minute drive. Sean refused to let Ron talk to the woman, instead playing Ron the video the woman made at the city council meeting. Sean and Freeman wanted to go back to the campsite. Lee agreed to drive them. When they got to the campsite, Freeman left in Freeman's vehicle, with Freeman stating he was going to drive Sean home to Oklahoma, and the pair were gone. In the last update, Lee was on his way back to see his father in the hospital Wednesday morning, promising to live stream from the hospital once his father was released. First update. Ron livestreamed for the hospital with an update on his medical condition. He said that he is facing charge of disturbing the peace and trespassing. The cardiologist has put him on new medicine to help him with an existing heart condition. They wanted to keep him at the hospital for a cardiac catheterization, but he refused to stay. He made it clear that he has no issues with James Freeman, who left to take Sean home, as he said Sean was afraid of being arrested in Pearl, Mississippi. He says he has no reason to be angry at anyone at this time. Second update. Ron was released from the hospital a little after 3 p.m. local time and then taken into custody by Pearl police officers and transferred to the Pearl police station. Once at the station, the bail bondsman was waiting for Ron, and he was released without incident. Third update, Ron was released from jail around 4 p.m. Eastern. He clarified that Sean fled because he was told by the Pearl police chief that he would be arrested if he did not stop calling the Pearl Police Department for no reason. Ron announced that he'll be fighting the charges. He will also be suing the Pearl and Lexington police forces. Officer Edward Scott Walters was apparently suspended from the Lexington police force. We'll have full updates on tomorrow's edition of the Auditing Insanity newscast and the daily newspaper at ReallyCoolSite.org.
Decastro laments lack of trifold sales. Delete Law's Jose Chili Decastro spent Wednesday night lamenting his lack of sales for his First Amendment trifolds, as he only pulled in a single sale during the 3-hour live stream. All was not bad for Decastro, as he pulled in $359 in Super Chats for the night on top of the $261 he pulled in from Super Chats the night before. The YouTuber had previously pledged that his Super Chats would be used to fund giving free First Amendment trifolds out to those that requested them. His anger was apparent, however, as he screamed that he had his lowest sales ever for the night with the single sale. The single $25 sale funded a free trifold to one person in his chat. Decastro's reaction appeared to indicate that he did not have the funding for the other 4 free trifolds he had pledged to send during the program. If Decastro is indeed in dire need of a cash influx, we'll again bring up our ongoing idea of making a GoFundMe just for trifold donations. While Decastro has said he had exited the GoFundMe and crowdsourcing market, a GoFundMe devoted to trifold sales would probably be the best idea for the struggling YouTuber, as it would bring him near immediate access to the funds. His previous campaigns have brought in over $50,000 in donations this year alone, and re-entering the market could revive the GoFundMe market, which again drew no new donations on Wednesday. Decastro apparently has a new business in mind, as he claimed he has trademarked the terms First Amendment Auditor and First Amendment Auditor spelled with a 1. Based on that claim, Decastro said his new YouTube channel will be devoted to First Amendment auditing and would be supported by sales from his new product lines based on the trademark term. A search of Decastro's application for the trademarks found that a final ruling has not been made, as there are questions about Decastro's residency, which is listed as a business address. Decastro was ordered to list a more permanent address as part of the consideration for his trademarks. If Decastro is awarded the trademark, he'll essentially own the term First Amendment Auditor to use in merchandise. He made it clear that he was also working on an official First Amendment Auditor organization that auditors under his control would be able to refer to as their sponsoring media organization if questioned for press credentials. There will be a 30-day period after Decastro is awarded the trademarks for others to either oppose the awarding of the trademarks or make their own claims. We will have more details should the YouTuber be granted the trademarks. We still need your help. ReallyCoolSite.org and the Auditing Insanity newscast are funded by your donations, along with what we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertisements on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Rage Girl Radio guilty of all charges in DMV case. In an expected move, the YouTuber known as Rage Girl Radio was found guilty this week of charges stemming from an incident where she essentially shut down a Pennsylvania DMV last year and ended up trespassed from the facility. Rage Girl said in a now-deleted live stream that she was inspired by YouTubers such as Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Reyes, and San Joaquin Valley Transparency when she was starting her First Amendment auditing career. She was arrested last year at a Bensalem, Pennsylvania, Department of Motor Vehicles office after being trespassed by officials for attempting to film inside the building. While filming is legal, the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation policy is that it will shut down services when someone attempts to film within the building. Rage Girl was arrested and faced 5 charges including disorderly conduct, fighting, trespassing, interrupting a meeting, and violent trespassing. Those charges were later reduced to trespassing and disorderly conduct. Long Island Audit eventually visited the same building to do an audit, which resulted in the facility shutting down. He was not arrested as he left the building when police arrived. Jose "Chili" Decastro also visited the building in October of last year, after Long Island Audit's visit. Decastro was armed with a federal civil rights lawsuit that he intended to file after being arrested at the building. Decastro, encountering police, famously got cold feet as he was not arrested during his visit, and the idea to sue was dropped as he had no standing in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to do so. In Wednesday's comments on her live stream, which Rage Girl has since deleted, she said that she regretted taking part in the First Amendment auditing movement. She explained that she now had a criminal record and 6 months of probation. Rage Girl claimed that she has been barred from First Amendment auditing during her probation period. She also felt that the judge in the case belittled and insulted her by calling her mentally ill. She added that the judge did not agree that First Amendment auditing was a form of journalism, and she felt that if she had been allowed a jury trial, the judge would not have acted so inappropriately in the courtroom. Rage Girl's status as a First Amendment auditor is currently on hold while she's on probation. It is unclear whether she'll continue doing audits once her probation is over.
Craig Hendry has bond revoked again. Controversy hit Craig Hendry again this week, as he apparently had his bond pulled for a case in Vermilion County, Indiana, after being arrested for new charges in Sullivan County, Indiana. The YouTuber appeared in court on Wednesday for his final pretrial hearing/conference from an ongoing harassment case out of Vermilion, Indiana. At that hearing, the court found that Hendry violated conditions of his bond. As his bond was revoked, he was taken into custody and will apparently remain in custody until the scheduled trial for the charges on November 19, 2024. An associate posted an update on Hendry's YouTube community page, so rumors were true that Sullivan County, Indiana, is trying to charge Craig with F6 intimidation. Craig had a court hearing today on behalf of a separate case, and they revoked his bond again. They have him in jail in Vermilion County, Indiana, without a bond at this time. A bond hearing will be held in 10 days for the Vermilion County case, not Sullivan County. No bond hearing has been scheduled for the Vermilion County case at this time, according to the court docket. No new charges from Sullivan County, Indiana, have been filed against Hendry as of press time. The charges in Vermilion County are for stalking and harassment from April of 2022. The case wasn't picked up in the court system until October of 2023 and has lingered for the last year. Hendry had his bond revoked in January after picking up more charges in violation of his bond conditions, but was later released. Hendry also made news in February when Jose "Chili" Decastro fundraised $4,000 to hire the DUI guy Larry Foreman to defend him from unrelated charges in Kentucky. The pair were victorious in that case, having the case dismissed before going to trial. The YouTuber was also recently convicted of a speeding charge out of Putnam County, owing $175 in fines and fees for the July 8, 2024 incident. We'll have more details on Hendry's ongoing legal battles as we receive them.
Floyd Wallace sells his plasma to pay probation fine. In the ongoing bizarre world of Floyd Wallace, the YouTuber announced on Wednesday that he was selling his plasma in order to pay for his probation charges from the state of Texas. Wallace started his Wednesday broadcast with his announcement that he was moving from Texas, which turned out to be a repeat of his more recent claims that he was moving from College Station, Texas, to another part of Texas. Moving is a reoccurring theme on Wallace's live stream, as at one point he was going to move to South Dakota, at another point he was going to Dallas, etc. He has also announced his intention to move overseas full-time with various countries in mind as his interests change. On his latest program, he was favoring moving to Dallas or Fort Worth again, which technically wasn't a move from Texas, but a move in Texas. He favored the cities as they were north of College Station and would provide him with easier access to Nebraska if he wanted to travel back to his home state. Wednesday also saw him declare that he had ended his fundraising efforts to pay his unexpected fee of $360 for probation services. The YouTuber announced that he was going to sell his body's plasma as a way to earn enough money to pay the fee. Wallace said he could sell his plasma 6 times at a rate of $150 per time. After the 6th time, the rate was reduced to $75. He didn't have anything in mind to replace the plasma gig after it ran its course, but for now, he said his immediate needs for the probation fine and travel could be met by selling plasma. The YouTuber also again claimed to be pushing back his trip to Colombia. This time he was going to move it to November 12th, the date of his blind plea in Oklahoma for charges of obstructing an officer from 2023. Wallace was still sure that he could easily fire his attorney and demand a jury trial instead of the blind plea deal. He again expressed his intention to delay jail time from the charges for as long as possible, giving him time to embark on his latest sex tour of Colombia. Opening a panel on StreamYard, Wallace essentially vanished into the background for the rest of the broadcast. He was content to let other men speak on his issues, only interjecting briefly to meekly offer his own opinions on subjects that the men were discussing without him. Wallace is expected to stream again later this week.
Team DLZ disastrous Friday website launch. Jose Chili Decastro's long-awaited launch of his Team DLZ website went sideways on Friday as his fans were greeted by a countdown on the website that ended at 0 at midday on Friday without an actual launch of the site. Those tooling around on the site found a way to bypass the screen to access the main site. Screenshots from that site indicated that there were member and public areas of the site, with the only page accessible featuring video snippets from Decastro. Decastro has been billing the website as the new home for his users, apparently discarding his recently relaunched Patreon page, and a possible replacement for his main YouTube page should he ever be banned from YouTube. Membership pricing is unknown at this time, though Decastro is charging $10 a month for member access to his Patreon page. Paying members have full access to all his videos on the Patreon, while non-members are charged $10 to view the individual videos on the site. The technical issues that plagued Decastro's aborted launch followed Thursday evening's 4-hour-long livestream where Decastro announced that associate Dawn Newman, formerly known as Dawn Breezy, had been taken into custody in Utah at her hearing earlier in the day. Newman is the woman Decastro featured on his program last week, who went viral for using profanity at police officers who were blocking her Ring doorbell while trying to serve a warrant on Newman last year, related to the custody of her sister's children. The children had been removed from Newman's care and placed into foster care after the oldest boy established a history of running away. Newman was looking after her sister's children while her sister was in jail. Once her sister was released, the sister and the sister's caseworker both took out protective orders against Newman after Newman allegedly degraded and abused the women. On Thursday, Newman was scheduled for a hearing at a court in Utah and was apprehended by police as she got out of her car at the courthouse. From Decastro's reporting, Newman was accused of violating the protective orders against her sister and the caseworkers. Decastro had been on the phone to Newman when she was taken into custody, and Newman did not turn her phone off. Decastro stayed on the line and recorded Newman's hearing, which he played on his livestream on Thursday. The hearing apparently ended with Newman being ordered to house arrest and having her phone taken away for violating the protective orders. Decastro spent the rest of the show seeking help for Newman from various organizations. Due to the lateness of his calls, he was unsuccessful in finding help. Decastro called the Utah jail and confirmed that Newman was in custody at the Weaver County Jail, and bail for Newman has been set at $200,000 for charges out of Arizona. Arizona then had 30 days to extradite Newman or she will be released. The YouTuber, who took in a disastrous $38 during the 4-hour livestream, pledged that he would raise money for Newman's bond before ending the livestream.
James Freeman arrested during traffic stop. Anti-government activist James Freeman Springer turned a simple traffic stop into an arrest on Wednesday as he was making his way home from the aborted Lexington Takeover in Mississippi. Freeman had left the Lexington Takeover event Tuesday night to drive Sean Buckner back to Oklahoma after Auditor Buckner had a blow-up with event organizer Ron Durban. He was pulled over for following too close by Arkansas State Police, despite claiming to have adaptive cruise control activated as he drove. The YouTuber refused to give the state trooper his license, registration, and proof of insurance. He then called Buckner to arrange bond as he felt he was going to be taken into custody for refusing the orders of the state trooper. According to Freeman's account, he ignored the state trooper to continue his call with Buckner despite the state trooper's threat to break his driver's side window and enter the car. Freeman expressed his opinion on the two options he faced during the traffic stop. He could either pew-pew the police officer and have other police come after him, or he could pay the extortion fees that the police officer was demanding. After eventually ending his call and complying with the state trooper, Freeman was taken into custody and his car was impounded. He was charged with obstruction of a police officer and released later the same day. Freeman claimed that he was near the border of Arkansas and Oklahoma when the incident happened, and he was told that state police were doing drug interdiction in the area and were pulling over every car with out-of-state license plates. The YouTuber was unsure if he would fight the ticket, as he felt it was easily provable that he had his adaptive cruise control on and that he was not driving too close. Freeman said he could make money off of fighting the charges, but it may be easier just to pay the fines involved as the thugs involved in the court system weren't going to let him prevail. Again, Freeman was on the way home from the so-called Lexington Takeover arranged by Ron Durban of Guerrilla Publishing. Durban had been hospitalized on Tuesday when he had an extended verbal disagreement with Sean Buckner. Freeman volunteered to leave the takeover to take Buckner back to Oklahoma as the takeover ended with the hospitalization of Durban. Durban was released from the hospital on Wednesday. Durban's son Lee released the following statement on Durban's YouTube community page on Friday. "Hey, everyone, just an update. Ron is out of jail, went to court, and has a date set for January. The charge was trespassing. We just got back to okay, and I have to take him to his doctor to get a cath. I've been very busy, so sorry for not giving an update sooner. He will probably go live later to give a rundown, thanks. We'll update both Freeman and Durban stories as either goes live."
Benson planned to disrupt library meeting foiled. YouTuber and homeless advocate Regan Benson and sidekick Aurora Transparency had their plan to disrupt the Englewood, Colorado, Library Board public meeting on Thursday interrupted as they were late getting into the meeting due to the presence of police outside the building. Benson stated that she and Aurora Transparency had a skit to put on in order to disrupt the meeting to humiliate library and cultural arts manager Bethany Lafferty. They had planned to pose as Valley Girls or Club Girls to do what they could to irritate the manager into an outburst at the meeting. Instead, Benson observed police outside the building interacting with a man who was being served a library exclusion notice, like one Benson had received earlier in the year. The man had been filming police, along with an allied security guard when he was asked to leave the parking structure. Observing the altercation delayed Benson and Aurora Transparency from entering the building in time for the start of the library board meeting. The pair quietly made their way to the meeting, where Benson calmly introduced herself when asked to do so. Following the introduction, the pair smirked and giggled their way through the meeting while Benson live streamed the meeting before inexplicably getting up and leaving before the meeting's scheduled ending time. Benson checked in with the allied security officer on duty after the meeting and asked if he was asking everyone to give their name to sign up for bathroom usage. The guard said he only asked based on appearance, but for the most part let everyone use the bathroom when they need to. Outside of earshot of the guard, Benson and Aurora Transparency proclaimed the library the discrimination center. Benson, who previously stated that she frequented the library often, changed her story and said that she had only used the library a handful of times over the years and was troubled by what she was seeing and the hatred she received from library staff. Bemoaning the change in allied security, with her friend Dave removed from a position overseeing the library, Benson said she would be limiting her library usage to a bare minimum in the future. Outside of the building, the pair discussed alleged activities of an allied security guard named Brian at Benson's library exclusion hearing. Benson claimed that she saw a case for a long rifle belonging to Brian lying near the entrance of Englewood's courtroom. It is unclear why Benson waited to drop this bombshell, along with the complaint she claimed to have made to Englewood City Manager Sean Lewis. When Brian escorted Bethany Lafferty to her car, Benson approached him and asked him if he would comment on the situation with the supposed long gun case. Brian declined to do so. Benson's livestream ended with an extended Club Girl/Valley Girl skit from the two women.
GoFundMe shocker. Long Island audit rejected by donors. It's mid-month and time for our half-month look at the GoFundMe market, and as our title says, the market is in free fall with a huge drop-off in donations for the month of October so far when compared to September. The simplification of the free fall would say that all the problems with the market are due to Jose "Chili" Decastro leaving the market last month, as he shut down all of his GoFundMe campaigns that were related to his legal expenses. In hindsight, his decision may have been premature because all of a sudden, he would benefit from a crowdsourced campaign to fund both his need for donations to fund his free trifold campaign and his new promise to help with Dawn Newman with her $20,000 bond. While he has failed in the past, with his embrace of Garrett Press with Ranker Van Net failing to reach even 10% of its $45,000 goal, Decastro has always had more success with his GoFundMe campaigns rather than his more limited fundraising livestream, and the GoFundMe would be a natural fit for both campaigns in front of him. The real news is how far Sean Paul, Long Island Audit Reyes has fallen between September and October. After pulling in over $4,000 last month to his latest campaign to help defend against his latest arrest, the same campaign has all but died, bringing in under $100 for mid-month. With that, let's get into things. All four of Jose "Chili" Decastro's GoFundMe campaigns have been suspended since mid-September. Auditing America's campaign has been dead for some time. Also leaving the market in September was Tu Apri and his long-dead campaign, which was briefly revived after a mention on one of Decastro's nightly live streams. Only 5 campaigns have had action for the month so far, and all but one are down significantly from their previous month. Let's take a look. Christopher Direct D. Ruffs, help Direct D clear his name, campaign has pulled in $100 for the mid-month, up from a total of $40 for all of September. While not the winner for the month, his is the only campaign that is up month to month. Long Island Audit's Unlawful Arrest and Constitutional Rights Fund has brought in $20 for the mid-month, down from the $62 haul the month before. His Support the Fight Against Tyranny and Corruption Fund stands at $10 for the month, down from a $182 take for September. Most concerning is Long Island Audit's most recent campaign, Support Freedom Stand Against Tyranny Together, pulled in $4,221 for September, but has only drawn in $83 for the first half of October. Finally, our own Ongoing Expenses Fund brought in $445 for all of September and has only brought in $110 for the mid-month. Our fall-off was due to nearly a week of inactivity due to Jim being sick with the virus early in the month, and frankly, because we haven't been able to do devoted GoFundMe columns because there has been little to no activity to talk about for the month. We're trying new promotions with the ability of our fans to name our evening live streams with each $10 donation. Hey Watcher, you have another 2 shows to name, which has seen some success, but we still need your help. Despite the GoFundMe market being dead, this publication is funded by your donations along with what little we make from our YouTube channel per month. While we did achieve full monetization on YouTube, we still need help to get through monthly expenses and keeping the lights on to bring you the paper and the newscast each day. If you can afford it, please consider donating to the GoFundMe run by this very channel. All donations literally go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing news stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. If you can't afford to contribute, please watch the advertising on our videos, like, share, subscribe, and comment. You can help by doing next to nothing, and we thank you in advance for pitching in.
Decastro's TeenDLZ.com nightmare continues. The nightmare launch of Delete Law's Jose "Chili" Decastro's TeenDLZ.com continued into a second day as users of the website were presented a countdown page that had reached 0 on the countdown instead of promised access to the page. Decastro had been hyping TeenDLZ.com for over a month now, with the intention of the site to be a replacement for his main YouTube channel should YouTube delete his channel. It is unclear if it is also a replacement for his Patreon site, which now has 51 members and 5 paid members, that he had also built as a replacement for his YouTube channel. As of press time, Decastro's Patreon site apparently remains in a building stage, with only 13 repurposed shorts from his YouTube channel available to his paid members. Non-paying members must pay $10 per short to watch the videos on the Patreon page. Decastro made no mention of the failed launch at the start of his Saturday afternoon livestream. After a 25-minute opening video, Decastro immediately went into anti-police videos and a pledge to give away 5 of his indestructible trifolds to his fans at the end of the show. Longtime observers may remember that Decastro had the same sort of problems with the launch of EndTortureCuffs.com last year. After long delays and problems with the launch, fans were greeted with a site that Decastro eventually claimed was in beta development filled with fabricated stories and images taken without permission from other sites. While the site did not offer memberships, Decastro promised that he would be devoting a good deal of time to the website in his ongoing efforts to abolish the use of handcuffs. It took months for Decastro to relaunch the site, stripped of any material that wasn't his, which he quickly abandoned as the site hasn't been updated since last year. Others will remember Decastro's long-promised transparency application, which he billed as a lot of things, but eventually settled on a service that would connect users with legal aid while dealing with police, maybe. If it ever launched. Our own flashback today featured another failed venture by Decastro, with his intermittent fasting classes, which he as an expert was supposed to turn into a profitable venture in 2023 despite his complete lack of training in nutrition and fasting. Decastro updated the status of Dawn Newman, a woman he had been helping who has accused police in both Arizona and Utah of harassment. Newman remains in a Utah jail awaiting extradition to Arizona on a $200,000 bond. The YouTuber offered no updates to his pledge to raise the $20,000 towards her bond, but did offer ways for his fans to put money on Newman's commissary account. Decastro himself was unable to figure out how to register for the website that controls the accounts and had to have a fan make donations in his name. TeenDLZ.com was not mentioned during the first 2 hours of his Saturday livestream. We will bring you further updates tomorrow if Decastro provides updates to the ongoing situation with his website.
Taco Terry splits with the angry vet. What's next? YouTuber Annapolis Audit, better known as Taco Terry, announced in a live stream on Friday that he has resigned his position as the vice chairman of the Servicemen and Citizens for American Rights Society, SCARS, founded by the Angry Vet. Taco Terry and the Angry Vet's partnership flourished over the summer as the pair were inseparable for the Angry Vet's trial for 8 wiretapping felonies in Maryland. They remained inseparable as the Angry Vet had a run with Ron Durban of Guerrilla Publishing at the gathering for Leonard Leroy Truth Filipowski in New Jersey that saw the pair split from the mainstream group of First Amendment auditors. The pair had further run-ins with Christopher Direct D. Ruff over the summer, with the Angry Vet exchanging words and accusations with Direct D after Direct D began to use his platform to expose other auditors he did not agree with. Taco Terry said that around this time, trouble started between the two, with the Angry Vet reminding him that he was a member of the SCARS organization and was essentially an underling to the Angry Vet, who was chairman of SCARS. The pair had multiple disagreements over how Taco Terry wanted to handle various incidents in late summer and early fall, with the Angry Vet telling Terry that he could not do certain things because that's not how SCARS handles things. They had a major blow-up in New Jersey earlier in the month that ended up with the pair not speaking overnight, but eventually they would hug it out and make things right. But things progressed to get out of control between the two since the Angry Vet's conviction this week, ending with Taco Terry resigning, then making an extended statement on his YouTube channel Friday night, with the Angry Vet rebutting Taco Terry with his own live stream at the same time. Taco Terry criticized the Angry Vet for failing to show up at SCARS board meetings and for overstepping his role as chairman of SCARS, interfering in Terry's decision-making process in events outside of his SCARS membership. The angry vet accused Taco Terry of being more concerned about making marijuana brownies and taking care of his lizard than devoting time to scars. He further said that Taco Terry apparently was never his friend and marveled at how fast Terry began to side with DirectD following his resignation from the organization. Taco Terry went for 2 hours. The angry vet went for about 80 minutes. Neither came off as having the winning argument in their dispute. In the end, the feud is expected to extend for the next week or two and then quietly fade out, as these things tend to do in the auditing community. We'll have updates as either man goes live again with another live stream about the situation.
Delete Laws teaches intermittent fasting class. I'm Yvette Peterson, and this is an Auditing Insanity flashback to January 6, 2023. Jose Chili Decastro returned to live streaming on Monday, January 6, 2023, in order to give his long-delayed class on intermittent fasting. Looking pale and emaciated and acting more distracted and disoriented than normal, Decastro explained that he's been fasting 22 to 26 hours a day for the past 5 days. He then revealed his personal plan that allows him to eat within a 1 to 3 hour window each night and that he only takes in black coffee, green tea and pink Himalayan salt when he is actively fasting. Making a lot of claims about intermittent fasting, without providing scientific proof, Decastro claimed that fasting can break down different cells related to gout, high blood pressure and cancer. Stating that he was a pro at intermittent fasting and that he had been doing the program since 2018, he continued to claim that fasting can cure most ailments humans face and can reverse aging. This continues a disturbing pattern of medical claims by Decastro, as earlier in the day he made tweets blaming COVID-19 vaccinations for the cardiac arrests suffered by Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin and other athletes. Decastro wrote, "Super athletes are super screened for cardiac abnormalities. The writing is on the wall. This is mass murder by governments around the world that tried to force us to put that shit in our bodies. A lot of my family and friends did the jab." Terrifying. Chili Decastro is not a trained dietitian and claims to have gained his expertise by watching YouTube videos and experimenting with fasting. He did not offer any actual scientific proof to back his claims in his video. Please consult an actual doctor or dietitian before starting any weight loss programs.